When you hear Saudi Arabia, you probably picture endless orange dunes, 50 degrees Celsius heat that melts your shoes, and oceans of oil gushing beneath. A green paradise? That sounds like a cruel desert hallucination. But what if the world's most infamous petrostate is secretly pulling off the biggest environmental plot twist in history? Right now, in the heart of the Arabian desert, they're planting billions of trees, building the planet's largest urban park, and betting $186 billion that they can turn a furnace-hot sandbox into a shaded, carbon-sucking oasis, while still pumping millions of barrels of oil a day. It's either the most audacious act of redemption the planet has ever seen, or the most expensive greenwashing campaign ever filmed in 4K. One thing is certain, if the Crown Prince's insane gamble actually works, the same techniques could one day make the Sahara bloom, cool cities by 15 degrees Celsius, and rewrite everything we think we know about what's possible in a warming world. This isn't science fiction. It's happening right now, and the stakes are biblical. Story. The first time I flew into Riyadh at noon, the temperature readout on the plane said 52 degrees Celsius. The tarmac shimmered like a frying pan. As we taxied past endless beige apartment blocks, I remember thinking, nothing green can survive here. Nothing. 5 years later, I came back. Same brutal sun. Same furnace wind. But something was different. Along the highway from the airport, young gaff and cedar trees, native species that somehow laugh at drought, were lined up like soldiers in neat green rows, drip irrigated by purple pipes carrying treated sewage water. Billboards proudly announced, 7.5 million trees by 2030. I actually laughed out loud in the taxi. Then I started doing the math, and the laugh died in my throat. This is the story of the most improbable environmental revolution on Earth. A desert kingdom trying to turn itself into a forest before the oil runs out, or the world stops buying it. Vision 2030. The day the music stopped. Everyone knows the official line. In 2016, a 30-year-old deputy crown prince named Mohammed bin Salman MBS looked at spreadsheets showing that oil might not pay the bills forever and decided Saudi Arabia needed a new business model. He called it Vision 2030. The unofficial line is simpler. The music was about to stop, and there weren't enough chairs. Oil still accounts for roughly 40% of GDP and 70% of government revenue. Global demand is plateauing. Electric cars are coming. The kingdom has maybe 3 or 4 decades of easy money left. So MBS did what any rational petroprince would do. He declared war on the desert itself. Green Riyadh, Central Park on steroids, times 16. Start small-ish. The capital, Riyadh, home to 8 million people, currently has 1.7 square meters of green space per person. That's less than a yoga mat. Singapore has 67 square meters. London has 40. The Green Riyadh project wants to jump to 28 square meters per person by 2030. That single leap would require creating more new urban green space than exists in the entire country today. The numbers are eye-watering. 7.5 million trees, 3,330 neighborhood gardens, 43 new parks, tree-lined roads stretching 16,400 linear kilometers, New York to LA and back, and a recycled water network that will jump from 90,000 cubic meters to 1.7 million cubic meters per day. Cost? A cool $23 billion. They're already halfway there. Drive through northern Riyadh now and you'll see vast nurseries the size of small towns. Millions of seedlings in black bags waiting for their turn. Drones spray microbial mixtures to glue sand grains together and stop them blowing away. The city even built a 60-kilometer green belt of trees around the metropolitan area, visible from space on satellite images if you toggle to the right ear. The Saudi Green Initiative, 10 billion trees or bust. Green Riyadh is just the warm-up act. In 2021, MBS launched the Saudi Green Initiative, SGI, and its regional twin, the Middle East Green Initiative. The headline goal: plant 10 billion trees inside Saudi Arabia and another 40 billion across the wider Middle East. That's roughly 1 new tree for every human being on the planet. By mid-2025, they planted 94 million trees and rehabilitated 160,000 hectares of degraded land, roughly the size of Puerto Rico. In 2024 alone, they released 1,590 endangered animals, Arabian oryx, sand gazelles, Habara bustards, into newly protected reserves. The Red Sea coast now has the world's largest coral reef restoration program using 3D printed artificial reefs. King Salman Park, because subtlety is not a desert virtue. If you thought biggest park in the world sounded like marketing fluff, wait until you hear the specs. King Salman Park will cover 16.6 square kilometers, 4 times Central Park, 7 times Hyde Park. It's being built on the old Riyadh airbase. Features include 1 million trees, an 800,000 square meters artificial valley, a royal arts complex the size of Vatican City, an Islamic garden maze, butterfly sanctuaries, and a skydiving center, because why not? Opening pushed to late 2025, but earthworks are already done. From the air, it looks like a green crater slowly filling with life. The NEOM-sized elephant in the room. Then there's NEOM, the $500 billion linear city that wants to run on 100% renewable energy, produce green hydrogen at scale, and feature flying taxis. Skeptics call it a sci-fi vanity project. Believers point out that the first solar plants are already feeding the grid, and the green hydrogen plant in Octagon is on track to produce 600 tons a day by 2026, enough to decarbonize 1 million cars annually. The skeptics have receipts. None of this comes without brutal criticism, and most of it is fair. Water. You can't plant 10 billion trees on 100 millimeters of annual rain. Saudi Arabia already uses 85% of its renewable freshwater. The rest comes from non-renewable fossil aquifers and energy-intensive desalination. Even with world-class recycling, Riyadh now reuses 100% of its treated wastewater. The math is terrifying. Greenwashing. In 2024, Saudi Arabia produced 9 million barrels of oil per day and approved new drilling in the Jafurah gas field that will increase emissions for decades. Hosting COP events while expanding fossil fuels feels inconsistent. Non-native species risk. Some early projects used thirsty eucalyptus and other exotics. Newer plantings focus on 72 native or naturalized species, but mistakes have already been made. Cost: $186 billion and counting. That's real money that could have built schools, hospitals, or subsidized the transition for millions of citizens. The surprising defense. Here's the part no one expected. The projects are actually learning in public. After early failures with certain species, the National Center for Vegetation Development now runs one of the world's largest desert botany research programs. They've developed drought-tolerant tamarisk variants that survive on 70% less water. They publish their failures. They invite international scientists. And the temperature numbers are real. In planted neighborhoods, summer afternoon temperatures have already dropped 4 to 8 degrees Celsius. Satellite data shows land surface temperatures falling over newly greened areas. Riyadh's air quality index, once routinely unhealthy, now occasionally hits good. The global stakes. If Saudi Arabia can prove that large-scale desert greening is possible without wrecking aquifers or ecosystems, the implications are staggering. The Sahara alone has 9 million square kilometers of potential farmland if you could crack the water and soil puzzle. The Australian outback. The American Southwest. Suddenly, arid megacities don't have to be concrete heat islands. More selfishly, Saudi Arabia wants to own the patents, the consulting contracts, the carbon credits, and the moral high ground. A country that spent a century selling the fuel that cooked the planet now wants to sell the technology that cools it. Mirage or miracle? So is it real? Parts of it undeniably are. The trees are in the ground. The solar farms are spinning. Endangered antelope are breeding in reserves that didn't exist 5 years ago. Parts of it are still a gamble. NEOM's wilder promises may never materialize. Water limits are hard physics, not political will. And no amount of tree planting offsets burning 9 million barrels a day yet. But here's the strangest part. Even the skeptics I've spoken to in Riyadh use the same phrase, "Inshallah it works." Because if this actually succeeds, the world changes. A desert kingdom that once exported the carbon that heated the planet might just export the shade that cools it. And that would be the ultimate plot twist.